Hi guys, I'm sitting here with my cat and he is purring. Maybe I'll include a picture somewhere later on. So if you can hear a weird rumbling sound, that's my cat. So today we're going to talk about counter arguments, and you've probably talked about this in high school, but let's just give it another crack and talk about it in a new context. So counter arguments are usually something that you want to put in an argumentative essay. And it's where after you've talked about all the reasons that you're right, you acknowledge that your opponents are going to have some things to say to you. So, why do you want to spend time talking about other people's opinions and your own piece? Well, first off, it totally makes you seem fair. It builds this ethos. It's like you are showing your opponents that you have nothing to hide. You're like, look, I recognize that some people are against this, and I'm gonna counter that, or I'm going to confront that head on. But it also gives you a chance to talk back to your opponents. So others might argue something. Nevertheless, however, you're going to say this instead. So it gives you a chance to talk back, but then it also gives you a chance to maybe come to some kind of middle ground. And sometimes the middle ground is great. Sometimes it's not, and you want to like be really heavy-handed about yours. But sometimes it's exactly what you need to do to make people believe you. So I'm going to give an example of creating counter arguments. And I'm sorry, I apologize, but we will be experiencing more Tiger King memes and more Tiger King as the subject of this potential thesis statement. So I am going to pretend that Tiger King is what I think everyone should watch. And so here's my example thesis statement. Tiger King is a must watch documentary for all Americans in that it provides an example of the kind of storytelling and reporting we need in times of political divide and struggle. It offers a unique balance between spectacle and advocacy, robust and necessary criticism of all participants, and a demonstration of the perils of unchecked consumption. So, first off, I just wanted to give you guys a little heads up here that um, it has the two parts. First, it's the why of why your media is important. So, you guys are going to need that why part. You tell me why you think your media is one that everyone at GSU should engage with. And then you have at least three elements that prove or support your why. So, here I put them in different colors. Why do you think it's the most important? Or why do you think everybody needs to experience it? And then here are three very specific elements of the show or the movie or the video game that make this thing true. So, how are you going to form a counter argument? Well, the first step is to put yourself in haters' shoes. So, you think about your media and you think about create someone in your mind that would just hate this. Sometimes you don't even have to create it in your mind. Sometimes you can find that community online. Sometimes you know people who hate it. So it might not be that hard to put yourself in their shoes and get into their mindset. So when you're kind of channeling the mindset of the haters, start making a list. What would someone who is against this say? If they were here talking to me about my piece of media, and then just jot those things down. So let's look at my thesis statement. There are plenty of haters on Tiger King. A lot of my friends are like, this is insane. And so, what might they say to my three things? Well, I say it offers a unique balance between spectacle and advocacy, but plenty of people say that it's just spectacle and it's basically no advocacy and it's just sensational. I say that all the participants get criticized, but a lot of people say there's not enough criticism of Joe Exotic, Alan Glover, the guy who he quote unquote hired to kill Carol Baskin, and then Jeff Lowe, that creepy guy who now owns the zoo. And then I say that it demonstrates the perils of unchecked consumption, but what about the fact that Jeff and Carol are still off the hook? It doesn't show that they get any kind of comeuppance because of their unchecked consumption. Well, next you have to, if you present their counter arguments, but then you have to have something to come back to them. So you have to respond to these. But whenever you're responding to counter arguments, make sure that you're not insulting. You want everybody, you prove them wrong or you talk to them, but you don't want them to be pissed off at you. You explain why you still think your position is reasonable. And then sometimes you might have to say, yeah, you know what, you have a point here. However, I'm still mostly right because blah, 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 blah. So, here's an example. So, some people think there's more spectacle than advocacy. But you know what? I think, yeah, there's spectacle, but it's spectacle that gets people involved in the advocacy. So, I say the form of spectacle is what invites everyday people into a larger conversation and that allows them to come to consider advocacy in the first place. Spectacle is required and is not an indicator of insipidness or lack of important content. So I'm like, boom, roasted, spectacle is great, and it's not at the expense of advocacy. Now, obviously, some people could respond to that still, but at least I've conceded, or at least I've mentioned their point, and I have something to cover me. Here's something that I'm actually going to concede on. So one of the counter arguments is there's not enough criticism of Joe Exotic, Alan Glover, and Jeff Loeb. And I'm going to say, you know what? There is evidence that public support lies with Joe, despite his true and egregious crimes. So really, the documentary is not perfect. It could have been more heavy-handed in its indictment of Joe's behavior. But you know what? I'm still going to have a little rebuttal. I'm going to say, however, it is clear through the depiction of the other characters that they are adequately shown to be disgusting criminal creeps. And I still think that even if this is the case, even if Joe is not perfectly criticized, I still think that my larger claim holds true, that it's a good documentary and it demonstrates these important elements of storytelling that we need in this time. And then the last thing is consumption appears to be rewarded in the case of Jeff and Carol. And I rebut and I say, you know what? Neither of them really come out smelling like roses. Both have been the subject of increased scrutiny post the documentary's release. So this demonstrates that the documentary did work towards exposing their misgivings, failings, and crimes. So even if you haven't seen Tiger King, what you can notice is that I think of 3 different things that somebody might have to say against my position. And then I talk to the haters. I say, here's what the deal is. I kind of agree with you, but my point is still good. I totally disagree with you, and therefore my point is still good. But I'm being kind. I'm saying there is evidence, but really, I still believe that my point is true. So, as you are considering your counter arguments, rebuttals, and concessions, know that you really only need one. I had 3. I wanted to give some real good examples and support. You must rebut or concede those counter arguments. However, if you find that all of your counter arguments you can't come back at, yikes, maybe you need to rethink your thesis statement, or maybe you need to change your own opinion. And sometimes that happens in the middle of writing what you think is your own idea, you realize you're wrong, and so you rewrite it. So get to work on your counter arguments and your rebuttals.